Hi, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Live. I am your host, Crystal Fry, and tonight we are talking about vulnerability. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome in as you're coming in. Say hello. Raise your hand. Tell me where you are watching from. Say hello so that I can welcome you as you come in, right? So tonight we are going to talk about vulnerability. And I know it's been a while since I've kind of introduced myself. And so I just want to take a minute to tell you just 2 seconds about me for anyone who may be catching me live for the first time or anyone who may be watching me in the replay for the first time. So my name is Crystal Fry, and I am a personal identity coach. And what is that, right? Well, I help women who feel lost and uncertain gain clarity and confidence and a sense of self. And the reason why I do that is because, well, that's exactly where I was a while ago and was able to walk through that journey, go down that path. And so now that I've come out on the other side, I've realized that the information that I gained through that is actually quite valuable in shortening up the length of time it takes someone else to do it. So that is why I do what I do, to help you get to where you want to be faster than it took me to get there. So tonight we are talking about vulnerability. Again, as you're coming in, say hello so that I can say hello back to you. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you're watching this in the replay, go ahead and use the hashtag replay and tell me where it is that you're watching from. So vulnerability. When you think about vulnerability, what comes to mind? What kind of things crop up? What kind of images come to the surface when you think about the word vulnerability? I know sometimes, depending on which way you're thinking about it, you could be thinking about, maybe an aging parent, right? Maybe someone who's frail, maybe that type of vulnerability. Or maybe you're thinking about, a time when you were scared, a time when you were afraid, a time when you were really not feeling so great. Hey, Tim, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining tonight. So we're talking about vulnerability, and what comes to mind when you hear that term or when you think about vulnerability? Do you think about weakness? Do you see being vulnerable as being weak? I did a post earlier today, and if you haven't seen that, go back and check that out. But I was talking about how somewhere along the line, vulnerability has come to be seen as a weakness for people. And honestly, I'm not really sure why that is. I get the whole, especially for men, as you're being raised, you're told, boys don't cry, and men need to be strong and all of these things, and you don't show your weaknesses. Like, I get that. I get that. I have two boys myself, right? I get that. And for women, when you think about being, you usually kind of maybe tend to think of women being vulnerable, right? That they're, I'm going to use the term that's probably going to get me in trouble here, so I apologize in advance, but the weaker sex, right? Men are supposed to be strong. Women are supposed to be delicate and, more vulnerable, more emotional, right? Well, here's something else that I want to kind of toss out to you while you're thinking about what you think about when you hear the term vulnerability. When you see someone who is sharing something, a struggle, a difficulty, a challenge that they have overcome, right? When you see people who come on and they talk about or they post about, struggles that they've had and they've been able to work through them and overcome them, they're showing you, they're being vulnerable with you, okay? They're putting themselves out there. They're sharing that story with you. But when we watch that, more often than not, we look at that person and we think to ourselves, wow, that took a lot of courage, right? That took a lot of strength to be able to share that, not so positive situation, whatever it is, with other people. Wow. That was really brave. Wow. I mean, you think about that when you see it in other people. But a lot of times when we think about our own vulnerability, we see that as weakness. And so as I said in that post earlier today, like I want to go ahead and dispel that myth for you, ladies and gentlemen. Vulnerability is not weakness, because it does take an extreme amount of courage and strength to put yourself out there in front of other people. Because here's the thing, you have no idea how people will respond. And you will have people respond in a various ways, right? You'll have some people who will tell you how powerful it is, some people who will encourage you. You will have other people who will tell you that you're an idiot. You'll have other people who will make fun of you, who will, call you names, who will do all of these things. But the truth of the matter is, the people who do that, the people who are going to get on your page or get on whatever in your life as you're talking to them in real life, and they're going to talk bad about you or talk down to you because you're trying to share something that may quite possibly help someone else, could even save someone else's life. Those people are struggling with their own issues, their own sense of self, their own problems and misunderstandings and misconceptions around vulnerability. So I encourage you not to listen to them, right? So as we're talking about vulnerability, there was something else that I wanted to really kind of bring up to you guys tonight and get your thoughts, right? Get your input, get your opinion. The link between vulnerability and trust, right? Because in order for you to be vulnerable, and I'm thinking about, in particular, like a dating relationship, okay? When you're wanting to be vulnerable, Tim, thank you for that honesty there. Looking at it as a weakness, thank you for that honesty there. When you're wanting to be vulnerable, like if you're in a new dating relationship and it's getting kind of serious, and maybe you even think you kind of want to like drop the L word with that person, that is a massively vulnerable state to be in, right? Listen, it's been a really long time since I've been in that state. I've been married for 19 years, so it's been a really long time, but I still remember what it was like. And I actually felt it, but I wouldn't say it because I didn't want to open myself up to that, right? Because what if I said it and he didn't say it back? Oh man, because what do you do in that situation? Especially when the feeling is maybe not reciprocated. Thank you, right? And that does all kinds of crazy stuff. So as you're thinking about what it means to be vulnerable and how vulnerability and trust are related, what comes first? Right? I kind of thought like this whole chicken and the egg thing, right? Like what comes first, chicken or the egg? What comes first, trust or vulnerability? Because if you're going to be vulnerable, you want to trust that person. But if you don't trust that person, how can you be vulnerable with them? So where is that for you? Well, I'm going to give you the answer, okay? At the end of the day, vulnerability is what is going to come first. And vulnerability is actually what is going to help develop that trust with another person. And again, I use the example of a partner relationship, an intimate relationship, dating relationship, anything like that. But it works the same really in any relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's with yourself. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and open yourself up, even if it is just a little bit. Now, please hear me. I am not saying that you need to like fling wide the doors and vomit all of your stuff onto them, because that is probably not what's going to be in the best interest of all parties. But you have to be willing to open up that door a little bit and be vulnerable with another person in order for you to gain that trust. And you know what that does? So depending on how they respond to that, one, as you're opening up and you're kind of testing those waters to see where things may be going, that's going to build that level of trust for you if they respond in kind. So think about that, as we are talking about vulnerability tonight, I can't express to you how important it is for the success of any relationship that you have. Even if you think about think about a familial relationship. So, with a parent or with a brother or sister or, something like that. If you have ever been in a place where you've shared a secret or, you've shared something, you've opened up to someone and they have responded to you with jokes, laughter, and I don't mean like the funny, funny, haha, like, oh my God, this is a laugh riot. I mean like picking on you, bullying you, anything like that, making you feel like you're less than because you've shared this with them. What does that do? That lowers the level of trust that you have in that person. It also means that you're not going to go back to them again and share anything. That's how it works in the workplace too, right? If you've ever had a boss or a coworker or someone that, you wanted to talk to them about something and you were kind of really putting yourself out there with maybe a new idea, or maybe you didn't really agree with the way that things were going and you wanted to share your opinion, and you were met with something that was other than, oh, well, thank you for sharing that. What happens? You shut down. You're that much less likely to share again. So as we're looking at the relationship between vulnerability and trust, understand that they go hand in hand. Your vulnerability helps to develop your trust and how it is reciprocated. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, I know this might be tough for some of you guys, but sometimes you have to make that first move. Again, whether it's in a dating relationship or whether it's in the workplace, whether it's with your spouse. Listen, vulnerability and trust is not synonymous with dating. Once you move past that stage and you're in a more of a lifelong commitment with that person, vulnerability and trust is still a real thing. It still has to happen. It still has to be nurtured. Else your relationship goes in the tank. Again, I've been married for a long time. It's not always been easy. It's not always been pretty. It's not always been sunshine and rainbows. But it's a process, right? Just like everything in life, it's a process. You work through it, or you decide to, make a different choice. So, okay, what I really want, I'm not going to be on too much longer. There are just a couple more things that I want to share. One, like we talked about earlier, vulnerability is not a weakness, okay? Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be seen for who you are. It's allowing yourself to be seen. It's allowing others around you to have a glimpse of who you really are. Not the facade, not the mask that a lot of people put up. And listen, I can talk about that all day long too, because I was the queen of that. The queen of creating this beautiful facade for everyone to look at. Meanwhile, on the inside, I was a train wreck. So listen, I get it. I understand. It's not always easy. It's sometimes really difficult if you've been in that place where you have made a living out of hiding who you are. Again, been there. But it's worth it, because that vulnerability, when you reach that place where you truly can simply be yourself, you guys, that is liberating in a way that I cannot actually describe to you. Like, it brings up feelings of, the adjectives that are running through my brain right now are just, 90 miles an hour, because it is such a freeing and liberating feeling to just simply be yourself and not worry about what other people think about it. Because here's something else. Most of them aren't thinking about it. I did a video about that a while ago. We get so concerned about other people's opinions. And again, that was me all day long. Everything I did was controlled by what somebody else was going to think about it. When you stop doing that and you just simply allow yourself to be who you are and live your life, and you don't really care about what people think about it, oh my gosh, the freedom that gives you is unbelievable. Seriously, if you're not there, call me and let me know. Send me, actually, I am going to pop up There we go. There's the link for my strategy session right there scrolling at the bottom. If you're in that place where you are suffocating, because listen, guys, I was suffocating in my life. And it wasn't because I was in a, again, I've been married for a long time. It wasn't because I was in a bad relationship. It wasn't because I had childhood trauma. It wasn't because of, anything that was just grueling. I had what most people would consider a good life. It wasn't a bad life. I had what most people would consider a good life. But you guys, something was terribly missing from my life. And you know what? It was me, the real me. So if that's where you are and you're tired of being there, put some time on my calendar. It's a free call. It doesn't cost you anything. It allows us to have the conversation about where you are and where you want to go, and then see how we can get you there. So that's scrolling down at the bottom for you. Back to vulnerability. There is one more piece that I want to give you. It's a couple of things, but it's one more big piece. Let me go ahead and dispel any kind of myth or misunderstanding you may have about whether or not people have problems. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have problems. All of us. All of the people that you see who have perfect lives on Instagram, who have fabulous, everything is just perfect and sunshine all the time on Facebook, we all have problems. Not everyone shares them. Not everyone's comfortable. Not everyone's in a place where they can share them. Another tip, please do not share things you've not healed from. Do not come into social media and spill your guts out for everyone to see, and you have not done the work to be okay with the story that you're telling, okay? It's a little tip from my visibility coach, Rashonda Pratt, okay? Do not bleed on people in social media. But do open yourself up enough to know that the experiences that you've had, the challenges that you've overcome, they very well could be extremely helpful for someone else. So just bear that in mind. So we all have problems. We are all human. Please don't get it twisted. I have my own fair share of problems. You guys see me in the pretty lights on Friday night. Y'all, I have problems, okay? Every day. But that's okay because we're human and that's part of life, right? That's part of life. We work through it. We deal with it. We move on. So if you need permission to be vulnerable, here it is, okay? A lot of us wait for permission to do things, for a lot of things in life. We don't realize we're waiting for permission, but we really actually are. So if you need permission, if you need to know that it's okay for you to be vulnerable, I'm giving it to you right now. It's okay. And if you're not quite sure how to do that, like I said, here's a great place where we can have that conversation. Or you can shoot me a DM. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to help you walk through that because I want to see all of these wonderful, beautiful, glorious people that were created and put on planet Earth living as their full selves. All right. I want to see you living as the best version of you. And you can't do that if you're hiding or you're scared or you're afraid or you won't allow yourself to be vulnerable with other people, because then we're never going to know who you are. We're never going to know the real you. And that's what we all want anyway. We want to know you. I want to know you. So here's my last piece. Just be you, right? Because everyone else is already taken. I'm sure that is a quote somewhere. I'm sure everyone has probably seen that. But the truth is, everyone else is already taken. You were created to be you. You weren't created to be like whatever celebrity you look up to or whatever, whoever your mentor is, whoever you want to be like, whoever you want to emulate. You can take some things away from that, add your own little personal style, your own flavor to it. But even identical twins have different DNA. So you were created to be you. You were created to be unique. Embrace it. Allow yourself to be vulnerable first with yourself, and then open yourself up and let people see you, because you are fantastic. You are phenomenal. You are absolutely the best. You are the only you there will ever be. Embrace it. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, if you're catching this in the replay, make sure you use the hashtag replay and let me know where you are watching from. It's been my pleasure, as always, to be here with you guys. Again, if you need to talk to me, if you want to get on my calendar, the link is right down here at the bottom. You can shoot me a DM. I'm always open to that. And until next time, this is Crystal Fry, your personal identity coach, supporting women in life and business to find their identity, love the woman that they are, so that they can transform their lives into legacies. I'll see you guys all again real soon. Take care.